The Nigerian government during the week directed the military high command to increase its operations in Zamfara, Katsina, and Kaduna states over the incessant activities of bandits and other terrorists. And the directive comes a few days after many residents of communities within the Chikun local government area of Kaduna state blocked the Kaduna-Abuja highway following the killing of two local vigilantes and abduction of several other persons. Now, the activities of bandits and kidnappers have increased significantly in recent times in the three states, with reported attacks on personnel of various security agents, including the military. Now, speaking with journalists, Minister of State for Defense Bello Matawalle says the government was directing the military to further command the troops on ground and additional ones to adopt a more proactive approach in decimating the activities of bandits and other terrorists within the Northwest region. Well, joining us right now in the studio to make sense of all of this arising from the spate of insecurity, especially within the Northwest geopolitical zone, is a former spokesman of the Nigerian Army, a highly revered military general, retired Brigadier General Sani Kakusheka. Thank you so much, General, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And some Nigerians will be confused. Why does the federal government need to give a fresh command to the military to do their job? Aren't they supposed to be doing this job?
Yeah, well, it's understandable. And in the sense that you have just said it, there is every likelihood that you know, as you have seen, there is kind of spike in some of the activities of bandits, especially in the northwest and states of Zamfara, Kaduna, Katsina. And so it is, directives of that nature is normal in the sense that it gives impetus to the operations being carried out by not just the military but any other security agencies that is concerned with dealing with these issues. However, I think if you notice, particularly in Kaduna State, what happened with the vigilante, and of course there are, you know, cases of kidnappings, but this time around with renewed vigor, they are becoming more daring, and not just more daring, but they are becoming more heartless in the sense that, and it's against the previous instances where they kept on, you know, kidnapping and demand for ransom, but this time around they more or less go for, on killing spree. And some of the reasons actually there are reprisals, and the solution to it is not far-fetched, so to speak. So much because the military are doing the best they could. As I'm speaking with you, quite a number of operations are being carried out, both by, you know, the ground troops and of course the air, and sometimes a combination of the two. But that notwithstanding, I think what is required more is synergy of effort and coordination of the activities of other, you know, security outfits, particularly those of the states, so that they can be operating in harmony. Because now what is there is that there are reported wanton killing of people who are, for whatever reason, they are not involved in the criminality. Therefore, I think there is issue of obeying the rules of engagement by this, you know, state outreach, and they should be properly coordinated. And this call for, you know, collaboration and coordination of the activities of all, you know, the security forces, whether federal or state, and see how best. And most importantly, the issue of, you know, involving the whole components of the society in the security, because in the security
sort of
arrangements,
whole society approach.
Exactly. Beyond the whole society, we are even thinking the whole nation approach, not the whole government or the whole society. It is question of the whole nation. So each component has a role to play. Take for instance the family system and all the rest. And from what recently there were kidnappings where I came from. And right now, as I'm speaking with you, some of them are still in captivity or in the hands of this bandit. And if you look at it, the general area is not far away from where, you know, people are carrying out normal lives. Definitely, they have to come and interact with people. They have to get information, get logistics, and what have you. So, involving other components of the society, you know, it will help in information gathering and intelligence, which is timely and accurate. That will give, you know, the basis for military intervention precisely. More so, even if it is beyond the ground troops, Now the Air Force have more sophisticated, weapons with precision of even pursuing those on motorcycles. So these are the things that are required.
All right, interesting perspective there. But General, I want to speak to you on the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, and it's becoming problematic. Just yesterday, the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons announced that it had retrieved 20,000 small arms and 60,000 units of ammunition within Nigeria during the briefing in Kano. And we keep wondering how our country has become full of these small arms and light weapons, and what could be done to stop this proliferation. Because sometimes it may not necessarily be the bandits or terrorists, but it could also be a gang of marauders, people who just have these small arms and light weapons, and they are causing problems everywhere.
Well, first and foremost, there is the globalization of some of this issue. Take, for instance, who manufacture the arms and ammunition that you're talking about. Naturally, it is the West. Most of it. Therefore, they must have to find market for such things. And in most instances, because of the security challenges that we're having, you know what happened in Libya and Mali and all the rest, and it's only Nigeria that can afford such things. Now, that is issue number one. So when you are talking about such things, you don't think of them in isolation to what is happening. And of course, there are also issues. Now, there are issues brewing with a neighboring country of Chad, which act as a buffer zone, stopping all these things. And now, with that kind of thing, right from Chad up to the Red Sea, is free fall, because what is happening in Sudan, on the streets of Sudan now, you can pick arms for just a pittance. And in most instances, they find their way into Nigeria. That is one issue. So beyond even the local issue here, we have to think of the international dimension, the cross-border crimes and what have you that we have to deal with it. Now, coming back to what you are saying in respect of the Center for Control of Small and Light Weapons in circulation of this country, I think there are about millions of them. And beyond that, there is also a thriving local manufacturing industry, because of the abundant mineral resources, particularly in the north-central part of the country. And I think what we have to do is to encourage them as much as possible to ensure that we give them timely and accurate intelligence. But beyond giving them timely and accurate intelligence, we have to deal with the security challenge, because sincerely speaking, we have had instances, even state governors were calling on citizens to defend themselves. Yeah. You don't defend yourself with mouth or with just stick, because bulk of the criminals, they carry arms. So invariably, it is more or less like call to arm. So that is one. And then secondly, those people that, locally manufacturing, they are being patronized by such people. So what do you do with that? You have to think of either integrating them into the system or find a better way of dealing with the issue. Because in fact, the coerciveness of dealing with this issue will not solve the problem. Because at the end of the day, how much is the government giving? So the other person will come with, and the criminal also have money. Take, for instance, a bandit will just kidnap an individual, will request for 10, 20 million naira. Yeah. How many AK-47 that he will buy with that amount of money? So these are the issues that you have to look at it holistically. But most importantly, we also have to go back to the issue of the whole nation approach, in the sense that everybody has a sense of belonging, not just in terms of security, education, but improving the socio-economic well-being of an average Nigerian, because there is direct nexus, to some extent, with some of these criminal activities with the well-being of the people. Because if you are meaningfully engaged, tendency of being involved in criminal activities might not necessarily. And in the first place, the institutions are strengthened and the people are more proactive. So even if one is inclined to criminal tendencies, as we used to say, adult deviant, so to speak, the system will check him. You cannot rule out crimes, but definitely it will not go far.
I mean, it will become easier to become nationalistic.
Exactly. So these are the
when
issues
you have a job.
So it is not just one-off thing. A lot of things have to go hand in glove with others so that you can improve on this issues that we are talking about.
Not just a gun and bullet solution.
No.
All right. So, I mean, in the midst of all of these things that have been happening, also we need to commend the military for some things that they've done. One of them was sometime around February, I think about a week or 2 weeks ago, we heard of the killing of Boderi Isiaku within this northwest geopolitical
exactly, a notorious criminal
notorious bandit who kidnapped
so many
lots of people, yeah, and all of that. What more can the nation and state governments actually do to support our military to succeed better?
That is why we are talking about the whole nation approach, in the sense that everybody should be given a sense of belonging to understand these criminal activities. They have, they don't even select. If you happen to be a victim, they don't even discriminate, because bulk of the people, it is disheartening to even know that some of those perpetrating the crimes, if only you will see them without their weapon, you'll be tempted to even feel sorry for them. But that notwithstanding, that means to tell you it is an average person. Therefore, they live with the society. Even if they have isolated camps elsewhere, they look for logistics. They look for information. Somebody, again, invest some of this money for them. So who are those people? So with the whole nation approach, you can be able to gather information about these people. And this time around, just like I'm just coming from a place where we had annual general meeting of the Alumni Association of the National Institute, where the Director General of Nigerian Army Resource Center, Major General Garba Ayodeji Wahab, retired, gave a lecture, you know, talking about the issue of security in this country is a whole society. I mean, it's a whole nation. It's a collective responsibility. So invariably, what we were discussing there is that we have to have a paradigm shift in terms of integrating other components of the Nigerian society. Initially, we just have to be sincere with ourselves. And we are more or less conservative, unlike in developed societies where even a primary school kid is sufficiently educated in terms of security on what to do. So devoid of the time-tested or traditional means of communication, not just necessarily the family system, because possibly your parents will tell you to keep quiet or your elders will tell you to keep quiet. With the use of technology, he can press a button and raise an alarm about suspected and towards activities happening. So these are the issues. So we have to look at also what roles do we have for our youth, the children, the issue of gender. So this thing have to be integrated to make sure that each and everyone plays his or her role, and especially the educational system too. So these are the issues that, and most importantly, we have been neglecting the traditional institution.
All right. So I still want to focus on this kidnapper that was killed and who's a bandit leader and all of that. Boderi. I mean, well, his reign lasted within Kaduna and Zamfara state, which was for nearly a decade that he was terrorizing people. He propagated fear, death, and destruction, especially within Kaduna and neighboring Niger states. But one of the things that I discovered while speaking with a top military officer is that he said that they had problems with some of the communities. Now, when they go into operations and are able to eliminate some of the bandits, not the leaders, but some of the bandits, when they get into the communities, they will find out that some of the community members have already picked some of the bandits' arms and buried them.
That shouldn't be so.
And so we wonder how easy it is for some of the communities to also partner with the bandit leaders, because the bandits don't want some of their arms to be retrieved by the military. But also on the flip side, the military officer said that when they investigated, they found out that the bandits leaders had threatened some of the communities that if they give some of their arms and all of that, or they allow the army to come and pack some of their arms, that they will come back and not only tax them, but kill some of them. How do communities manage this kind of dilemma, either to deal with the legal force or the illegal forces here?
No, but honestly, sometimes you don't blame the people, in the sense that in fact, a traditional ruler stood out to say that their issue is issue of lack of response on the part of the security forces. Now, you are faced with circumstances that is far beyond you. Let's even talk about the issue of payment of ransom. We all know that the surest solution to kidnapping is refusal to pay ransom. But that is easier said than done. You only say it if you are not affected. And, Mike Ejefu told you that, in fact, exactly. So if you experience it, when it's your brother or your sister, it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. So people have become helpless. Now, these people are holding sway in those areas, and there is no visibility of governance or security. You have no choice other than to obey the rules of those people that are armed. Basically, normally they say you don't argue with somebody who is armed. So you understand the circumstances, but everything is not lost yet, in the sense that it is the responsibility of the government to assure these people, and they cannot assure the people if you are not well prepared to deal with the security challenges. You know what to do. What is it that you need to do? Possibly there is poor number of human resources. The equipment is not there. So what do you do? And beyond spreading troops or security policies thinly, you have to think of maybe insertion of special operations once in a while. And you have to embark on confidence building, showing the people that you really care. And I'm so glad when I spoke with some of the commanders in the field, and honestly they said, look, they get marvelous cooperation from the people, the local community. In fact, the battle that you are talking about, it was the cooperation of the communities that brought about, that exposed him. Otherwise, you won't know. Ordinarily, a lot of people up to now, they could not distinguish him from the next man on the street. So, but it is the people that that know him that could talk. So somehow you have to build the people's confidence. It happened in the Northeast. Initially, look at what happened. But the people of Borno State rose, and of course Northeast, to say enough is enough. They contributed by creating the civilian JTFs. The civilian JTF, they know them. In most instances, they are all young people, so they know their disposition. And basically that is it. When you give the people sense of belonging, and if for whatever reason they give information and it is followed up and they are protected, I can rest assure you, you will get more cooperations and what. So their threats will become empty and needless, and they will be dealt with. But we need to do a lot in respect of that aspect.
Yeah, of course, the communities also have to know that they are safe for them to do that. As we try to round off the conversation, I'm also interested in knowing why banditry is rife in the Northwest geopolitical zone, which the federal government is asking military commanders to enhance operations there. One of the factors that have been adduced to the major reason for this is mining of mineral resources illegally. How do we ensure that this particular zone, we are able to make something out of it? Because as long as there's precious mineral resources there, there will always be interest. So what do we do in this instance?
First and foremost, I know the government has come up with a series of regulations. I think it's a matter of following it up. But most importantly, those people that are involved in it, they should understand it is better to follow the legal way so that each and every one of the people, involved in the community will benefit. And more so, I think it will help the environment if the things are done in the right way. But quite unfortunately, in fact, people that are involved in illegal mining are people that are well-to-do to some extent. There were even allegations against some of them that they were sponsoring the bandits so that they will ransack a particular community that is sitting on supposedly precious minerals so that they can be able to mine. And that should not be so. I think there is a need to, whenever there is information in respect of that, such people should be decisively be dealt with. Because part of the problem is the issue of impunity. If only we can adhere to the rule of law and make sure that every Nigerian is equal before the law and there are deterrents for those who are found guilty, I think to a large extent some of these issues will be reduced. But again, now it is easier because I kept on saying this issue. We have 3 tiers of government: the federal, the state, and the local government. The local government is closer to the people. But you and I know that the local government system is not working. So we have to be sincere enough to ensure that the local government system works, so that some of these issues could easily be dealt with at local level. They will not even escalate to state, talk less of becoming a federal government's problem.
And there was this massive protest along the Kaduna-Abuja highway by residents of Chikun community and Igabi. Also, we've noticed that within these two local governments in Kaduna State, they've been, and then maybe Gwari too, they've been lots of terrorist activities, bandits, and Giwa. So what exactly, I mean, it's making these people, despite the military attempts to actually force them out of these localities, you are always seeing military, activities of these bandits happening in these specific local governments. And on the other hand, these members of Chikun local government went ahead to shut the Kaduna-Abuja highway, causing another high security situation because people who were moving from the northwest to other parts of the country were stranded, and those moving there were stranded. And so it was a terrible situation. Wasn't that people, taking the laws into their hands? And could it also be that they've lost confidence in the ability for them to be safe? That's why they are going to that last resort.
I think there is also issue of communication gap, because even the security forces, they often complain of lack of cooperation. And sometimes when things have gone wrong, you tend to look for scapegoat. And in most instances, that is what is happening. But beyond that, I know that particularly if you are a regular flyer, traveler, that you fly Kaduna, Abuja road, you will understand the level of military and security forces deployment. You see patrol. In fact, you also even see aircrafts. But that notwithstanding, people should understand and appreciate the circumstances we found ourselves, and understand that the security forces are doing the best they could, and they are there for them. Therefore, they need to support and cooperate with them, and with that, you can be able to solve the problem. Not that you can go ahead and carry the law into your hand, because I think it was more or less like a reprisal, in the sense that they took law into their hand, and of course the bandits came out. Remember that I told you, now with this kind of thing, some of them that were not even involved in criminality, they are being killed at random. So as such, the bandits are becoming so heartless also, and it should not be so. They should cooperate fully with the security forces that can easily be held accountable, not those militias, so that they can carry out joint operations there to provide information, and even help in scouting and, raking the roads and what have you, so that there will be smooth operation. So basically, it is a collective responsibility. Each of the two components should constructively engage each other, the security forces and the local community, because this thing does not argue well if there is friction between the two. The average person is a loser, and we don't want, those days of, when you mention Goningora, your heart is in your mouth.
Yeah, of course. Because that route has been a very terrible when it comes to ethnic crisis.
Yeah, exactly.
Crisis,
I think the state government needs to step in,
shutting down that highway
timelessly, to ensure that the people do not take law into their hands, and of course the security forces. And I know for sure the formations of the military, whose area of responsibility is there, I think they are doing the best they could to ensure that the problem is eliminated. Take for instance, I served in one division, and when we had problems in those areas, first and foremost, we came out with surveillance using technology, stationing cameras that monitor that environment, and we make sure that there is a constructive engagement, stakeholders pally on fortnightly, so that problems,
confidence building measures.
Exactly. You engage with the people. I think if there is engagement, and the government has to lead the way, bringing the two on board, so they should understand that, look, they have the responsibility to make sure that everybody lives in peace and harmony with each other. But most importantly, that cannot be done if they take law into their hands, because in most instances, in those days, they allege that the people that perpetrate the crime in Gonungora were not even in the inhabitants of that area. And my question is, why should you allow a criminal to come and perpetuate criminal activity within your domain, and the consequences? So basically, that is it. So there is need for constructive engagement, bringing the two on board. They should understand that they need to work together.
Yeah, although some of the residents were complaining that they claimed that for 3 hours they had called for rescue and they couldn't get. But yesterday I had the Commissioner for Internal Affairs, Samuel Aruan, who actually told me that they did their best and that the military had actually received a call on time and they worked with the civilian JTF, like they're called, the vigilantes, to actually go into the attack. But on the closing note now, I want you to talk to us about the issues of equipping the Nigerian military. Apart from just issuing this order by the federal government, how can we equip the Nigerian military with technology to help reduce the need to push so many personnel to the field? Because let's be very clear, we can't have soldiers everywhere. We can't militarize everywhere, though we're getting there. But technology could help reduce these issues.
Yeah, exactly. But thankfully, I think the government is doing the best it could. Just recently, Air Force was able to induct some aircrafts, and I learned that about 12 more of such aircrafts are on the way. And a part of the Army, they have been receiving quite a number of support on the
But can they work at night?
They do.
Okay.
They do. I told you that they can even pursue a motorcycle and they can strike with utmost precision. So the most important thing, I think, is to emphasize on information and intelligence gathering using the technology. You know, the drone technology. Also, beyond surveillance, also they should have more of armed drones, but should be properly coordinated and used whenever the need arises. Then the most pressing need is to ensure that people are educated in terms of security consideration, so that people will understand each and everyone has a role to play. And if you know that you have a role to play, what do you do in event of unforeseen circumstances? Take, for instance, it could be just a road traffic accidents that, so talk less of attacks of that nature. Whom do you go to? Whom do you report to? And how do you equip the people that you are reporting to ensure that they respond appropriately? So these are the issues. And most importantly, you see, some of these bandits and what have you, they have crossing points. People know. People assist them, either ignorantly or deliberately. And these are the things that we need to eschew to ensure that really we need to support this, security forces. Well, the government is doing its own best and they make judicious use of these resources available to them. But we need more human resources to ensure that this is done. But most importantly, go back to resuscitating the local government system so that it will be working, so that some of the security challenges can easily be dealt with locally, so that you will relieve the military, law and order will take, and the governance will take place.
All right, we must thank you so much, Brigadier General Sani Kakusheka. SK Usman, as we like to call you, is a well-decorated retired senior military officer. And one of the good things about you is that you voluntarily retired as a senior military officer in 2019. And of course, you've helped us to understand all the issues that we've had at stake all through. And then, of course, the federal government's recent military directive to the Nigerian military to ensure that the bandits and terrorists in the Northwest geopolitical zone actually routed by our military. And of course, we just hope that the military will be given all the necessary equipment and our politicians don't just make statements, but also back it up with the right equipment for military commanders. So, must thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much, too.
Thank you so much.